The first theories of meaning weren't about language, they were about work. Specifically, why did mathematical language succeed in representing physical connections, where centuries of scholastic philosophy had only accumulated confusion? That was the trigger. Galileo's equations revealed structures that qualitative description had merely gestured at. Mathematics didn't describe nature differently. It made possible forms of understanding that previous frameworks could not achieve. From that observation, two philosophers drew a single hard line: Leibniz, Hume. A claim is either answerable to logic and mathematics or answerable to experience. If it answers to neither, it is probably nonsense. Nonsense wasn't a polite logical category. It was almost a moral verdict. Hume wasn't saying medieval talk on mystical qualities and angels are unlearnable or linguistically anomalous. He was saying they were a kind of intellectual pathology, a symptom of minds that had lost contact. Descartes understood this before anyone made it explicit. The drive toward mathematical language wasn't a preference, it was a recognition. The mind has something like a native grammar, an inner architecture that would hold even after everything else is cut by methodic skepticism. And mathematics spoke that structure more directly than ordinary language ever could. And here is what I think is not an accident. The questions that now sit quietly inside empirical research programs, what grammars the brain will refuse, what compositional structures earn collective consensus, what semiotic systems are learned most efficiently. These questions were first asked somewhere else entirely. They were asked by people trying to separate science from superstition, trying to identify what kind of claim a mind would have to grasp to avoid falling into nonsense. Trying to understand why mathematics succeeded where scholastic vocabulary failed. The parameters of today's empirical linguistics, the ones running inside neurology departments and psycholinguistics labs, were set by a philosophical program, and more precisely, a phenomenological one, because the horizon of intelligibility of a culture is also the horizon of its grammatical patterns. What a community can mean and what a community can say are not two separate questions wearing the same clothes. They were always one question.